And surging food prices spark protests and violence around the world. Welcome to Dai Headlines. I'm Anthony Carlisle. Thank you for joining us. First up in Global View today, surging food prices combined with rising fuel costs have triggered unrest around the world in the past month. People have been killed in rioting in Egypt, while similar clashes are racking Haiti. Last week, UN troops stepped in to calm Haiti's capital after 3 days of violence and looting. The clashes started after demonstrations against rising food prices got out of control. The unrest began last week in the southern city of Lakai, where 5 people were killed, and it spread to cities across Haiti, the poorest country in the Caribbean. Thousands protested in the capital, home to some 2 million people, and bands of looters sacked warehouses and terrorized drivers and shopkeepers with rocks. Food prices are soaring in a country where most people live on less than $2 a day. Haiti is not the only place in the world to be affected by the food crisis. In Cameroon, 40 people were injured in rioting that broke out in February. In Egypt, 7 people were killed in a rush to buy government-subsidized bread. Other countries in Africa have also witnessed unrest over rising food prices. In Somalia, the rising cost of basic food items could push many people over the brink into destitution and lead to increased loss of life. The UN World Food Programme has asked donor countries for $500 million to prevent cuts in its deliveries.
We may have to either cut rations or cut the number of people that we feed in Somalia because of these increased costs.
Meanwhile, in Asia, high food prices have sparked protests in the Philippines and resentment in Bangladesh. Vietnam, India and Cambodia have all imposed restrictions on rice exports to curb rising prices at home. Experts blame rising fuel and fertilizer expenses as well as crops curtailed by disease, pests and climate change for the crisis. While the US and Europe has focused on the rising price of gasoline, experts say many other people around the world are struggling to fill their stomachs, and the situation is getting more and more difficult every day.
I think what we are facing is a perfect storm. And we've got the lowest food reserves in some 30 years on the markets. At the same time, prices have gone up tremendously, sometimes doubled in the last few months.
There are concerns prices could rise a further 40% in coming months.
A few years ago, we could fill this cup of food aid. Now we can only fill the cup to like 60%. That's how much the prices have gone up.
According to the UN, currently 36 countries are facing a food crisis. How to overcome the growing problem is top of the world agenda.